Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make a stick loom. Okay, as you can see here, I'm going to be using a total of 48 pegs. So if you have a 48 peg loom, you can use this. You can use a flexi loom. You can use a X loom, which is what I'm going to use, in the 5/8 inch gauge, and I'm using a size 6 Hometown USA yarn. I'm going to be making a unicorn. If you want it to be not a unicorn, you will skip the horn section. Alright, and I'll explain where that is. Okay, also, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw my screw up where I didn't add my 16 rows down here. So that'll be fixed and it'll look really nice. Alright, so if you're going to do the version that does not require flexi loom, and you get the pattern and you see wedge increase and a knit row, what you'll want to do is knit all the way up to the purl row, which is 13 rows. So you'll knit for 13 rows if you're doing the round loom version. Alright, so what I say to start with is get your loom set up. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, so I've set up 16. And I'm going to drawstring cast on. So I'm going to front, back, 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 front, back. You're going to do this in the round. Now, if you are doing the 48 peg round loom version, you're going to do a drawstring cast on, just like we did here. Okay, so it's a drawstring cast on. And no, you can get you an X loom from Cindy Wood Looms, or you are able to also get the flexi loom. They're now carrying KB, and so what you'll want to do is you'll want to go in the info box below, and you should be able to see the link to Cindy Wood Looms. Okay, now what it says to do is it says to knit for 3 rows, then you do a wedge increase. So you're going to knit for 3 rows. So here's row 1, and you're going to repeat this process over and over again. Now, if you want to know how I do this for the flexi loom, I will put that link below, and how to do a conversion from the X loom to the flexi loom. Okay. Okay, there's row 1. Now, if you're doing the round loom version, you will do 13 total rows. Right. And then you'll join us back up. Then you can follow the video pretty much up until we start decreasing on the wedge decreasing, and I'll tell you how to go about adjusting for that. Once I tell you how to adjust for that, it's real easy. at that point, they'll tell you at some point you'll want to start working flat. Okay. Okay, we need to do one more row. Okay, we've done our 3 rows. Now we're ready to do a wedge increase on all 4. Okay, so you're going to knit 2, then you're going to go in here and you're going to find that first stitch, which I'll try to see if you can see it. And do the first stitch right here. Okay, this is always, if you have other ways you like to increase on these things, by all means do it. Okay, take your working yarn, place it in front of the peg. Place it back. Then take and put a new stitch you just made there. Then you're going to knit the peg. Then you're going to go here and find this first stitch. You're going to pull it back. Place the working yarn in front. Pick up that stitch you just made. Then you're going to loosen the washer. Push it down to the next slot so that it all lines up, as you can see. And then my suggestion is I like to go in and tighten the stitches up. Then I'm going to knit 3. And I'm going to do the same thing. You'll get to a point where you know where the first stitch is, so you don't have to sit there and move it all around like I do. Alright, you knit that one, and catch your first stitch, pull back, working yarn in front, and pull there. Push down. Then you need to tighten up your stitches and knit 3. You'll see I have a stitch marker in here at your halfway point. This will tell you whether you're making sure everything's nice and even. Now, I'm going to show you this row, and then you're going to repeat this 4-row section until you have a total of 48 stitches. Okay. Again, if you're doing the circle in version, you knit for 13 rows. Okay. Move your edge out. Where it all lines up. Okay. And knit 3. if you're doing this on the Flexi Loom, make sure that you mark your increased sections. It goes a long way on helping you keep up with where you need to increase. Okay. Okay. Loosen the washer, push down. Tighten up the edges. And toss over. Alright. Now, you want to knit for 3 rows and increase a row. Alright, I'll wedge increase all 4 until you're up to 48 stitches. Okay? Pause the video and get that much done. Okay, I now have officially 48 stitches. And above V, that's what it should look like. Okay. Don't draw string yet. Okay, that's going to be your stuffing point. Alright. So at this point, I've just increased. What you're going to do is you're going to do a row of knit, and then you're going to do a row of purl. And then you'll be ready to just knit for several rows. Okay. So, you're just going to knit your way around. So, let me show you what it says to do. So, you're going to knit, and then you're going to purl. Alright. So, you're going to knit a row, and then you're going to purl a row. And then you're going to be doing the neck area. So what we all have just completed, when you complete your purl, what you all have just completed is this section here. The next section is this here. Okay. Let's go ahead and pause the video. Do 1 row of knit and 1 row of purl, and we'll come back. Okay. So now if you're doing the round loom version, you didn't need to do an extra row of knit, you just need to do a row of purl. Okay, so we are to here, which is the neck, which is rows 15 through 32. You're going to knit. That is basically 18 rows, okay? So what you want to do is you want to go round and round, round and round for 18 rows. Pause the video, and when we come back we'll be ready to start row 33, which is where we're going to be doing some short rowing to create the curvature in the head right here. Okay, so we're doing here, and then it goes in and does here. Okay, so I can tell you which section's which. Right now we're doing this section. When we come back we'll be doing this section. Let's go ahead and pause the video, complete your 18 rows. When we come back we'll be ready to start the top head curve. Okay, as you can see, I've just done my 18 rows, alright, and now I'm ready to start a different section. I'll lift that up. So I'm right now ready to start this section here, and I'll kind of mark that out. So we're doing this section here, just going to create that curve. Okay, and so when you get to that section, your rows 33 through 37. Okay, so that's what you're doing, rows 33 through 37, and here's how that's going to work. Okay, so what it says to do is it says that you want to knit 35 and wrap and turn. All right, so you're going to go 1, 2, and you're going to knit around counting 35. Okay, let's make sure that's 35. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. 35. Alright, now you're going to wrap the next available peg and turn. At this point now, it says to knit 23, wrap and turn. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, Alright, so this should be 23. Let's make sure there's my wrap and turn there. So let's make sure. So there's my wrap and turn back here. So we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Okay, then it says to wrap and turn. Okay. Then you're going to knit 22, wrap and turn, knit 21, wrap and turn, knit 20, wrap and turn, knit 19, wrap and turn. So you're going to be continuing this. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to knit your way around to here, stop, wrap and turn this peg. So you should have a wrap and turn here, wrap and turn here. Then you're going to knit your way all the way back around. You're going to stop here. You see here's your wrap and turn here. You're going to wrap and turn this peg. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to have a total of 3 wrap and turns on each side. Okay. And so once you do that wrap and turn, you're going to knit your way over, stop just before the last wrap and turn, knit your way back over, stop before just the last wrap and turn, and knit your way back. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to pause the video, and you want to get that much done, and then I'll show you how to finish up this short row section. Okay, so as you can see, I finished over here, and you see there's 3 wraps and turns. So you can see there's 1, 2, 3. Okay. Alright, then you want to come back around here, and you see there's 3 here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And this is like working your way back around to your starting point. Okay. So my suggestion is you mark these wrap and turn pegs. Okay. You might find that it's easier to keep up with because you're going to do this 2 more times, or at least mark the pegs you know you're supposed to be starting wrapping and turning. Okay. So my suggestion is, now that you've got this set up, you're going to be doing this 2 more times after I show you what to do here. Okay. So I now know that that is my peg I will work my way around to start my wrap and turn. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So you take your furthest out wrap and turn a stitch and mark it. Okay, and what this allows you to do is saves you a lot of counting. When you know where you need to start your wraps and turns, you ain't got to worry about counting so darn much. Okay, because you're going to be repeating this, because what it does, it gives a gradual curve without it being very angular like on a sock. Okay, we're doing a similar thing to a sock technique, but it's smoother. It creates a really elegant curve. Okay, so at this point, you have your last wrap and turn in unit 19, and then in the pattern you'll see that it says to knit 2 together 3 times, knit 12. So knit 2 together, 1, 2, and 3. Then it says to knit 12, which basically means you're knitting your way back to your starting point. You're just going to knit your way back to your starting point. And that concludes row 33. Okay. Alright, so we've worked our way back to our starting point. Next, it says for row 34, knit 12, knit 2 together 3 times. Okay, so here you go, you knit your way over to those wrap and turn pegs. Alright, so there's your knit 12. And then it says knit 2 together 3 times. So here's 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, then we're going to start the wrap and turn process again. And this is where marking these first first ones that you wrap and turn makes it so much easier. So now you're just going to knit your way over to that stitch marker on the other side. You're going to wrap and turn and create the process again. You're going to do this one more time after this for a total of 3 short rows to create the nice curve that you need. You could say it's kind of based off my triple wedge heel, which, if you'll notice, has a rounder look to it than just doing a typical short row heel, and the holes are minimal. Okay, so this is based off of that, but it adds a gradual curve to it. Okay, I'm almost around to the other side. Okay, so you're going to wrap and turn again. All right, so you know there's your first one. And you work work your way over to the other stitch marker that you put on the peg, either side. Okay. Now you're going to wrap and turn and then knit your way back. So at this point, you're going to continue with the short row section like we just did previously, where you have 3 wraps and turns. So 3 wraps and turns here, 3 wraps and turns here, and then you knit your way, you knit those 3 together there, knit your way back to the starting point, knit your way over, knit the 2 together, start the wrap and turn again, and then you're going to knit your way over, knit the 3 together, knit your way back to the starting point, knit your way over here, knit your 3 together, and this time you're just going to knit all the way around, okay? And that should get you back to here, and you'll have done it 3 times, okay? So, again, you're doing the wrap and turn 3 times over here, 3 times over here, okay? Then you're going to work your way back, knit the 2 together, just like we did at the beginning of this section, okay? You're going to do it just like we did at the beginning of this section. Knit the 3 together, knit your way back to the starting point, knit your way over, knit the 2 stitches together on these 3 pegs. Then knit your way over and start the wrap and turn process again. 3 wrap and turns here, 3 wrap and turns here. Then knit your way over, knit the 2 stitches together on those 3 pegs, knit your way to the starting point, knit your way here, knit these 2 pegs together on these 3 pegs, and then knit your way around. Alright? You're creating 3 wedges, and that last knit the 2 together here and knit your way around is the end of it. Okay, that finishes the curve section. You get lost, you can get the written pattern, but once I show basically the technique, you have the idea, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and complete the curve section, and when we come back, we should be ready to start what should have been row 38. Yeah. So we'll be ready to start row 38. And that'll have the ears in it. And so it just gets more complicated from here. Alright. So go ahead and pause the video, complete the curved part of the head, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to start row 38, which has the ears in it. And that's another short row kind of series, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up some, and what you should notice is this side is shorter than this side. So you should have more of a gradual, it's not just flopping over. You can see that that is naturally shorter than what we have worked over here, okay? So, if you are working with the Lions brand Hometown USA, you do need 2 skeins. Just doing this section, which is half of it done, I'm going to have about used up 1 skein and be ready to start the next skein probably on this row. All right. So we are to the ears, and sometimes it's easier to just go ahead and stitch mark them out. Alright, so what you want to do is you want to count over 14 and then mark out 8. Okay, so we're going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And come over here. I'm going to mark these on the okay, then you're going to count over 8. So 1, 2, so we can take this off and move around here. We don't need this anymore, so it's big. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is where our ear is. Okay. So we know we're doing the ear here. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Then there is space of 4 in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to pick up and put the next stitch marker in. And this is where your other ear will be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure you get that. So let me pull this stitch marker out so I can use it over here to keep up with everything. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Put that right here. Okay, and then it says count 14. Let's make sure we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14. Okay, we've got it. Alrighty, so we've marked out our sections we're going to be working with. Okay, now I'm going to take our thing down a little bit. Okay, so how this works, you're going to knit your way over to your ear section. We've just marked them out. I showed you how to do that. This is probably your most complicated section, is your ears. It may not be, it depends on, but several short rows to make an appendage, because I don't like sewing on ears, I don't like sewing on noses, and I don't like sewing on anything extra if I can work it in. So yes, you may have to do a few extra steps, but I always feel like it's worth it. Okay, now I'm going to take 2 stitch markers, because you're going to need to bring the original loops back, and you'll want to see what you're bringing back over those 8 stitches. Alright, so you want to put a stitch marker on all 8 stitches so that you can bring the original loops back and close off the ear. Okay. Now, I want you to mark the time slot on this video on this, because once I show you this ear, I'm not going to show you the other ear. You should be able to manage this just fine. You're just going to do it in the other 8 slots. Okay. So once I show you this once, you need to come back to this section of the video. It's just going to be done over here rather than over here. Follow the same exact process. Okay? and one more. Okay. Yeah. And what that does by telling you to come back to this time slot is it saves filming time. If it's the exact same thing, it just saves filming time, so the video isn't quite as long to upload. Okay? So, here's what it says to do. It says to knit 8 for 14 rows. Okay? Let me see if I can move that over here. So it says to knit 8 for 14 rows. So here is row 1. And all these over. You're working over just these 8 stitches. Back and forth. Okay, so there is row 1. Okay. Then here's going to be row 2. Starting with the peg you finished with, you just work your way around, back around. Those 8 stitches, and the original stitch markers you put onto the physical peg helps you keep up with it, okay? Because sometimes this can get hard to keep up with. Alright, so there you go, row 2. Alright, so pause the video, back and forth, for a total of 14 rows. So pause the video, complete your 14 rows, and when we come back, we will start on the process of completing the top of the ear. Okay, so right now we're just completing the chunk of the ear, the bottom half. Then we start a decrease down, and then increase back out, and that's the tip of the ear, okay? So pause the video, complete 14 rows of knitting 8, back and forth, right? And then we'll be ready for the next section. Okay, we've done our 14 rows. We're now ready for the next section of the ear. And this is where we're going to, where it says to knit 7, knit 8, knit 7, knit 6, knit 5, knit 4, knit 3, knit 2 for 6 rows. Okay, so what that means, you're going to knit 7, so here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to knit 4, starting with the peg you finished with. Here is 1, 2, 3, and 4. you're going to knit 3, starting with the peg you finished with. So here's 1, 2, 3. Now you're going to knit 2 for 6 rows, starting with the peg you finished with. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Actually, no, you're only going to knit 5. Yeah, no, you're knitting 6. Still waking up this morning. Okay, so you're knitting 6. Okay. Now, starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 3. So here's 1, 2, 3. Then, starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 4. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then starting with the peg you finished with, you're going to knit 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And starting with the peg you finish with, you're going to knit 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now you're going to knit 8 for 13 rows. Yeah. You're going to knit 8 for 13 rows, starting with the peg you finished with. And so this is where I'm going to tell you to pause the video, go back and forth over those 8 pegs for 13 rows. So here is row 1. And what you're doing is finishing up the rest of the ear. Okay. And we'll be ready to bring those stitch marker stitches back. So, just like you did at the beginning of the ear where you did 14 rows, you're going to do the same thing here, but you're only going to do 13 because you're going to be bringing your original loops back. Okay. So, get it all the way over. As you can see, we created a tip of the ear and back down to the base. Alright? So, go ahead and pause the video, back and forth for 13 rows. Okay, I have done 13 rows and I'm ready to bring my original loops back on my 8th stitches, and you can see there they are. So what you do is you find your first one and put it on there. And you find your second one and put it on there. this in and find your first one over here and put that one on. And then put that one on. And you've about completed your ear. Okay, stick that on there. And stick that on there. And there you have it. Take that off. Then you're going to knit two together 8 times, and that completes your ear. And I will show you what that looks like when I finish this. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to knit two together 8 times, and that finishes your ear. Okay, I'm going to turn it over, and looky there, there's your ear. The ear you just created. And that is how you laminate an ear on here. Alright, so now we're going to turn this back over, and we're going to knit 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now it's time to start over again on your ear. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to pause the video, go back to the beginning of the ear, and start the ear over here in the next 8 stitches. Do the exact same thing over here that you did over here. Okay, you're just doing it over here. So go ahead, pause the video, complete your other ear, and then what you'll do is when you do the knit 2 together, you're just going to knit your way back to the starting point. So when you complete your other ear like you did over here, so complete your ear like you did over here. Once you did the knit 2 together, then you're just going to knit your way back to here. Okay, so when we come back, we'll be ready to start the next section. Okay, so pause the video, complete your ear, and then knit your way back to your starting point, and then we'll come back and do the next section. Okay, I've done my ears. Both of them you can see. Okay, so So the next thing you want to do is you want to knit for 6 rows. So you want to knit round and round, round and round for 6 rows. Okay? Pause the video and get that much done. Okay, now that you've done that, your next row should have your horn. Okay, and what you want to do is you want to knit 22. So here's 1, 2, 3, Okay, here's my 22. Now, our horn is going to be using 4 stitches. Okay, so you'll need stitch markers for this. Okay, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of modular knitting on the horn, and that's because I really don't have to sew up my ears, but I will need to sew up my horn if I don't do this. Okay, but I can explain how you can do this without having to worry about it. Okay, now with the horn, you're only going to be bringing the original loops back on the 1st and 4th peg. So here is peg 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and peg 4. Okay, so now you don't have to do this method if you don't want to. You will be bringing the original loops back, so mark those no matter what. Alright, so here's how this goes. What you want to do is you want to knit for 20 rows. Okay, so you want to knit for 20 rows. Alright, so you're going to knit back and forth over these for 20 rows. You're creating your horn. And I'm not doing any kind of texturing on the horn because I'm going to do a lot of add-ons to the horn. But if you want, at this point, you want to change your color and have a white horn, or you want to change your color and have more of a rainbow horn, you are more than welcome. You have a rainbow yarn. What you want to do is you want to go ahead and put a stitch marker on that stitch. And you're going to put a stitch marker on this stitch over here because you're going to slip it. Okay. Alright, so this is row 1. So then you're going to slip 1 and knit 3. And this will be row 2. Okay, and you're going to go up under your stitch marker. It'll make it easier to pull back the stitch later. Okay, if you're doing this modular knitting method where you're going to close it off and don't have to sew it up later. Alright, so that's row 2. This is row 3. Slip up under and put a stitch marker, and this is row 4 that we're going to complete. Okay, and so forth for 20 rows. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video and complete your 20 rows, and then when we come back I'll show you how to do the point at the tip of the horn and then finish up the horn. Okay, so pause the video, continue that for a total of 20 rows, and then we'll come back and finish the point of the horn and start working our way back down. Okay, I did my rows. Now what you want to do is you want to knit 3, 1, 2, 3, then knit 2, here's 1, 2, knit 2 again, 1, 2, knit 2 again, 1, 2. Then you want to knit 3, 1, 2, and 3. At this point, you want to start adding your stitches back, so you're going to find the closest stitch marker to the peg, which is this one. Okay, so you're going to grab it and put it back on the peg. And at this point, you're going to slip the first stitch, knit your way over, and then knit the 2 together. And then knit the 2 together. Okay, then you're going to find the closest stitch over here, which is this one. Pick it up, put it over here. And then knit your way back. Continue this process until you're down to the last 2 stitch markers, which are bring your original loops back. So continue adding these stitches back until you're down to your last 2 stitch markers, And then we'll go from there. You find the next closest stitch to the peg. As you can see, it's this one. You add it back. And you just continue this back and forth until you're down to your last two. And when you're down to your last two, come back to the video and I'll show you how to finish up the horn area in the row. And then I think it gets easier from here. It's just wedge decreasing and no more short rows. Okay. Alright, I'll show you one more on the next closest, which is this one. And you add it on. Now, the closer you get to the base, you may want to try to start kind of shoving that down. And then when you're done, you should have a horn coming out just like your ears, okay? So go ahead and pause the video, complete adding your stitches back while doing your rows, and we will finish up the horn and move along from there. Okay, so as you can see, here's your ears, and here is your horn. So here's your horn, there's your ears. All right. Now, I told you to go until you were down to the two. Now make sure that your working yarn is on the other side here. Okay, so now you're going to pull your original loops back. So bring your original loops back on pegs 1 and 4. And the reason why I left open the middle is so that if you want to stiffen the horn with a stick or stuffing or anything like that, you can. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to knit 2 together, and then you want to knit 2, and then you want to knit 2 together, and then you'll knit your way back to the starting point. All right. So at this point, you're just going to knit your way back to the starting point. Now, here is what we're going to do after this. I believe it's going to be 5 or 6 rows of just knit, okay? And this is the face area. And it doesn't really matter if you want to do 5 rows, you want to do 6 rows. It's not going to make a whole lot of difference. So go ahead and knit your way back to here, and then you want to knit for a total of like 5 to 6 rows, all right? And then we'll come back and we'll start doing the decreasing over here, which is on the bottom half, to get that curve at the jawline that a horse has, okay? So go ahead and pause the video and knit your way around here, and then you're going to knit for 5 or 6 rows. Okay. What we're going to do is a 5-row repeat here to do a gradual decreasing down to the nose. So what you want to do is you want to take down every single wedge. Go ahead and decrease. Which, as you can see, loosen the washer. You take it down to the next slot, as you can see, and you move those in. Okay. You do that all the way around, then you knit your way around. Okay, so normally you'll see a wedge decrease 4 and knit. That's exactly what you're doing. You're decreasing down all 4 and you're knitting. Okay, so this is row 1 of a 5-row repeat. Okay. Now, your job is to knit your way around all the way. Okay. When you get to the decrease peg, you are going to knit all 3 stitches over. Okay, so you're going to knit all the way around. And so pause the video, do that much, and then I'll explain the next 4 rows. Okay, now at this rate, what you want to do now is you want to do 4 rows of knit, where you just knit, okay? So you just do 4 rows of knit, and then you go in, you repeat the decrease all 4 wedges and knit, and then do 4 rows of knit. Okay, this is your 5-row repeat. You do this all the way down to, I think, 16 stitches or something, thing like that. Yeah, 16 stitches. Okay, so you just want to knit around 4 rows, then you're going to decrease, and then knit around, and then you're going to knit around for 4 rows. So that's your 5-row repeat. Alright, so go ahead and pause the video, continue that 5-row repeat until you're down to your 16 stitches. Okay, pause the video and complete that much. We are almost done with the knitting part of this. Then it's the fine-tuning and getting it ready for it being put on a stick. So pause the video, get it down to 16, and when we come back we'll be ready to do a drawstring bind off. If you feel comfortable doing a drawstring bind off, go ahead and do a drawstring bind off. But note, I have not tightened anything here. Reason being is this is my stuffing point. Okay? Alright, go ahead and pause the video, complete those rows, and then we'll come back and be ready to finish up. And we'll be ready to start stuffing, fine-tuning, and that kind of thing. Okay, as you can see, I've gotten down the lowest I can get, which is about 16 if you're working on a 5/8 inch gauge. If you're working on a flexi loom, you don't want to go past much more than this. You have 2 options. You can just drawstring bind off, or you can bind off and then sew up to get more of that square face. So it's entirely up to you how you want to do your nose. I think I will just bind off, okay, so that I can square up that nose and make it more horse-like. Okay. And when you sew up the nose, you will sew a straight line, and then what you'll probably want to do is try to create an indentation by the mouth. Okay, so you can drawstring bind off if you think that's going to be simpler for you, or you can just bind off like I'm doing right now. So go ahead and pause the video, do whichever bind off you want, and then we will come back and I will show you how to start doing your finishing touches before you start stuffing. Okay, So, as you can see, that looks like a horse's head. And if you don't want the unicorn part, you just skip that and do a row. Okay. So, what you want to do you can see is you want to sew this up flat like this. Okay. And that closes up your mouth. Now, as for your horn, you can try stuffing it with stuffing and polyfill. It's the first thing you want to stuff if you're going to stuff it. You can put a small stick up in there to keep it strong. You can also put pipe cleaners, several pipe cleaners up there, fold them and twist them and that kind of thing up in there, because there is a small hole available. As you can see, there's my finger up in there. So it's entirely up to you what you want to put in your horn, but it won't be one of the first things you want to do. Now, after that, what you want to do is fold out that ear, sew it up on the sides, okay, and down. And then what I like to do is fold it in like this. Once you sew it up, fold it in like this. And when you do that, it's hard to do it where I'm just hand down. Fold it in. It sits more on top of the head, like you'd want your horse's ears to do. Okay. And then that allows you room to put in your mane. Alright. Now, this is before you even stuff. So you want to sew your ears up, and then you want to do that fold and sew them together. Sew those tips together, just like that, after you sew those up. Okay. After you do whatever you're doing with your horn, sew your ears up, sew your nose up, and then if you are working with safety eyes, what you want to try to figure out is where you're going to put your safety eyes. Now, you want to fold it in half, and here you can see is where you start decreasing. Where you want to put that eye at is further up for one, and somewhere where that decreasing starts, somewhere in here. Alright, so there's your ear, there's your decrease. You're going to put your eyeball somewhere in here. Okay, and the eye's going to be fairly large. Right. I have some I'm waiting to come in with eyelids and that kind of thing, and you can super glue eyelashes to the eyeballs where the eyelids end and that kind of thing if you want to really get fancy with it. Okay. Then after you add your eyeballs in, you'll want to stuff. Okay. And that's where it you can have fun with that. Okay, so you're going to stuff everything up to about here. So you stuff until you get about here. Then you want to put your stick in, and you want to stuff around your stick, stuff around, and then you want to try tightening it and seeing how far up you need to get. But the stick you'll want to stuff around, and that's when you've, of course, stuff it to here, and then you want to take your stick, or your dowel, You want to stuff it up in there, and then you want to stuff around it all the way, and then you're going to tighten this up. Okay. So you're going to tighten that up. And then I'll go from there and trying to show you. And it's going to get difficult filming on how to show you how to get the stick up in there and glued and that kind of thing. Because from here on out it becomes more of an embellishment. Now, I'm probably going to crochet a bridle. But if you are wanting to loom knit a bridle, you'll want to I-cord, 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 and then of course your reins, I-cord, and you just I-cord and sew and do that kind of thing. Okay, and that will get you the bridle you want. So if you, before I come back and start trying to show you how to cinch the eye in a little bit more, making the head more narrow like a horse would want, and start showing you how to add your mane, and how to finish up the stick area where it's attached to the stick. This is going to go more up in there. Okay. And if you want a truly stark area, you can cut a piece of cardboard. As you can see, you have that kind of unicorn look going on. Okay. You can stick a piece of cardboard up in there if you really want to have that stark look, and that'll fix that up some for you. Okay. So there's lots of things that you can do, lots of options. If you want that cardboard, then you'll probably want to try figuring out the diameter you need, and that might be fairly easy. When you go in and you do something like this, you can kind of draw a circle and that kind of thing, but you'll know that it might be hard to get that cardboard up in there because this is such a narrow space. So keep that in mind too. Alright. But mostly what's going to happen is you're going to just stuff it. So, alright. So go ahead, sew up the ears, cinch them, do whatever you're doing with your horn. You've got three options. They do sell smaller sticks that you can put up in there. I have some out in the shed personally. I'll probably end up doing that. So you want to figure out how you want to stuff your horn. If you want it to be soft where it's not more like a weapon or anything, you can just stuff it. Then you want to sew up your snout like this, flat. And then you'll want to stuff to about here. Stick your rod up into the middle, stuff around it, and tighten it. Now, before you do the stuffing, if you've got safety eyes, I suggest you either sew in your eyes or safety eye them in. You're going to find where your decreasing starts. You're going to go in here somewhere on your eyeballs. Okay, so pause the video and get yourself prepped to start doing the final touches. I am going to be adding to my horn, so you may want ribbon, you may want pearl beads. You're wanting to really add to it. I'll show you how to add the mane. I'll show you how to cinch the eyes, all the final touches, so that you know what you're looking at. I'm going to hand crochet a bridle just because I find it's faster to do that because it's mostly I-cords. personally. And so from here on out, if you feel like you have it, go for it on finishing it up. If you're not, I'll show you how to finish it up. Okay, so go ahead and do all those things, and then when we come back, I will show you how to jazz up the horn, add your cinching of your eyes, how to add the mane, how to secure your stick, and offer any other suggestions after that, but that pretty much completes it. So get this much done, and I'll show you how to do the final touches, and then leaving it up to you on your bridle and how you want to do it. You can do it with ribbon if you want. The bridle is entirely up to you on how you want to do it. But for me, I'm going to be doing crochet. Alright, so pause the video, get that much done, and we'll come back.